Hey everybody, it's Cam here. Today's episode, I want to talk about my personal top 5 favorite book to TV adaptations. This isn't necessarily going to be like the best ever. I'm sure there are going to be some people who feel that I leave some of them out, but these are the ones that I personally enjoyed the most. In some cases, I really enjoyed the books. In some cases, I only read a couple of them, maybe one or two. But I really loved how they adapted and how they ended up on the big screen. First, I want to do some honorable mentions. Of course, Silo, which just had one season so far on Apple Plus. It was adapted from the Wolves series by Hugh Howey. I really, really enjoyed that first season. I thought that it was an awesome adaptation. I really liked the books too. I actually read them way back when Kindle Unlimited first came out, and where he really made his name. Of course, he's famous for selling just the physical copyrights to his books, and he kept all the digital rights. So he's done all right for himself. Also, I really have enjoyed Foundation. They're like old sci-fi, a little bit different, not really my style of the books. And I know that some people haven't particularly cared for the TV series either, but I've really enjoyed it. I liked the galaxy spanning, feeling of it. That it just felt so like monumental and huge. It's only got a couple of seasons so far. We'll see where that goes. Also, I probably should mention Handmaid's Tale. I actually really liked the book by Margaret Atwood, but I've just never really gotten into the TV series. I've watched maybe a season or two of it, but it just wasn't my thing. I think that that's a series probably that I'm omitting from my top 5 that would be like the most controversial to people, or that the most number of people would enjoy. Then the last one I want to talk about real quick is Shadow and Bone, which of course it comes from the Grishka universe of Leigh Bardugo, which was really, really good. That first season I felt like was a really awesome adaptation, and I think the author has said she really enjoyed the adaptation as well, and I'm really disappointed that it got canceled by Netflix after only 2 seasons. It's really disappointing. I know they were talking about doing adaptations of several of the books, and possibly multiple adaptations. I'm not quite sure. I guess it just didn't get enough viewers. That's unfortunate. But the books by Leigh Bardugo, I actually have a podcast episode on Six of Crows if you wanted to go to the way back and look at just a podcast. Good books, more of a YA bent, but unfortunate that it got canceled. I also want to give one dishonorable mention. This is a personal opinion. I have not enjoyed the Wheel of Time adaptation. I've talked multiple times in the past about how I have, between audiobooks and rereads, I'm somewhere around a dozen times of some of the early books on the Wheel of Time series. It's my favorite series of all time. And I think that my biggest issue with the show so far has been that there was a lot of hype. I really, I followed Rafe Judkins, who's the producer. He did several interviews where he said he was going to stay faithful to the source material. But if he, in his mind, is actually staying faithful to that material, he and I were reading 2 different books. And, I just don't care for his turning of the wheel. I know that some people, really enjoy it. 2 of my best friends who have been friends of mine since we were in college, back when we, bonded over the Wheel of Time series. We used to spend a lot of time on the old Dragon Mount forums. They enjoy the series, and you know what? They've read the series multiple times, just like me. And so, some people can disagree. I didn't even watch the second season. The first 3 episodes I thought were amazing. I thought the cast was really good. I enjoyed the story, minus Perrin having a wife that he murdered. It's not a big deal. But those first 3 episodes, I really thought things were going well. And then by the time the season was over, it felt like Rand wasn't even really necessary. It was really just about Moraine's character, and she was the real hero. I didn't like the whole splitting up the dragon and everything. I just, it's just, I didn't care for the decisions they made. Let's go ahead and get to the top 5 list. Number 5. This one I feel slightly embarrassed even listing, but I'm going to just tell you a little bit about this. True Blood.
Guess guess what happened tonight?
You got a date?
No. A vampire came into the bar.
It is based on the Southern vampire mystery novels, also called the Sookie Stackhouse novels by Charlaine Harris. The show basically started off as vampire porn. There was plenty of nudity, plenty of gratuitous violence, and it was kind of like almost watching a little bit of, the old light softcore porn at times. But by about season 2 or 3, it was really, really good. And it was one of those series that I watched with my best friend and his girlfriend at the time, who actually happens to be my sister-in-law now. They introduced me to my wife. And while those two aren't together, my wife and I have now been married for more than 10 years. So I guess at least one of the couples worked out right. But I used to go every single week over to my best friend and his girlfriend at the time's house, and we would watch True Blood. It was a weekly thing we did. We never missed a week. It was awesome. We would have a great time. It was just fun to watch together, and maybe that's part of why I enjoyed it so much. I have actually gone back one other time and rewatched the series, and I still really enjoyed it. I feel like it had a great arc, and it ended when it should have ended, not too soon or too late. I've only read a couple of the books, I will admit, and that was a long, long time ago. My sister-in-law had the books, and it might have even only been one of them. So I will be honest in saying that I don't remember the books very well. I know that there are a whole bunch of them, a bunch of novels and short stories, and so maybe one of these days I need to go back and read those, or at least one of them, just to do a review. I have dipped my toes into romantasy lately and enjoyed that, so we'll see how that goes. Number 4 on my list is The Witcher.
I remember hearing stories about witches. Is it true what they say?
Elves are the original sorcerers of the continent. When humans and monsters arrived, elves taught the humans how to turn chaos into magic. And then the humans slaughtered them.
That is a current ongoing series. It recently wrapped up the 3rd season, and that is the last season with Henry Cavill as the main character. So we'll see if after the next season is over, if I would still continue this on the list. The author, Andrzej Sapkowski, the author famously sold his media rights for a very, what seems to be a very small sum of money at this point. I think it was just a couple $100,000. And he chose that instead of taking ownership, shares of the video game and the TV series, because he thought that no one would care about a video game. He's a little bit salty about that. I can understand that. I also thought that the books, which are a lot of short stories put together, were okay. So I actually like the Witcher TV series better. I have played the video games quite a bit. I've never actually beaten any of the games. For some reason, they make me slightly sick to my stomach when I play them for too long. But I've enjoyed them. I can see why they're as huge as they got. It, of course, follows the Witcher, who has supernatural powers in a medieval world. The TV series also follows Ciri, who is a princess who, has magical powers as well. But it's a really fun series, I thought. I thought the action was done really well. There's a little bit of romance as well. I thought that they were just a really fun series so far. I know that some people didn't like season 3 as much as the first 2, but I personally still really enjoyed it. I am a little bit nervous to see how things move with season 4 with, a new main character. My third favorite episode of all time is Game of Thrones.
Winter's coming.
Of course, Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin is the inspiration behind that. This series would be number 1 on my list most likely if it weren't for just a god-awful final season. It was so bad. But you know what? I think it should have been like 2 or 3 seasons, and if it had been longer, then it would have been much better. And of course, at that point, because George R.R. Martin has not written a book in so long, they weren't actually following the source material of the books. So maybe that's, part of the thing as well. I felt like it was a super faithful rendition of the books. Of course, Martin worked on the show. I know he as well wanted more seasons at the end, but of course, our main two producers were getting ready to move on to the Star Wars universe, and they wanted to finish up. So I really, I think that if they had stayed on for a couple seasons longer, it would have been great. But I also really liked House of the Dragon, that first spinoff. I thought it was a really awesome first season, and I know that season 2 is coming up. And it sounds like there will be more spinoffs in the Game of Thrones world as well. If you are unaware of what Game of Thrones is, it is a play on the War of the Roses, a civil war in England. Basically, we have, the threat of the White Walkers from the north, and the civil war between the civilized humans of the South, of course, as they fight each other in the noble houses. The Game of Thrones, of course, is the fight between all of the people who have a claim to the throne of Westeros. It was just such a great story. I think that it was shocking to a lot of people early on that how many people it killed, right? And Martin is, really famous for just killing off characters. I feel like that just was such a great choice in the books themselves that it really it made every scene, have a little more possibility that someone got into a fight scene. You had to worry that maybe your favorite character was going to die. And I know that the death at the end of book 1 was shocking to me when it first happened, and was probably shocking to an awful lot of people. If that final season had been better, then you know what? It would have been my number 1 series of all time, probably. Number 2 is The Magicians.
You're a kid and you have these notions about what life is, what it could be. But eventually you have to let all that go.
I learned magic tricks just to keep up with you. It was our thing.
You have to stop.
Magic is real.
What is this place?
Break Bill's University.
Am I hallucinating?
If you were, how would asking me help?
This school exists to reveal your innate abilities and hone them to the highest degree. Let's see some magic.
The books were written by Lev Grossman. It was a trilogy. Somewhere, I don't know where my copies of the books are. I had all 3 of them. They were really beautiful covers, but for a long time, I had all my books packed away. I did the old build a house, sell it after 2 years thing several times in a row. And, things got put away at various times, and I don't know where those books ended up. The Magicians was a series that followed Quentin and a series of other teenagers as they went to a magical college. It was this mysterious college. We're set in Earth, right? So it's kind of, I guess, an urban fantasy, although I don't know why it doesn't feel like an urban fantasy in the same way so many other, series do. It's also a play on like the Chronicles of Narnia, where they go to another dimension, and really felt like the Chronicles of Narnia when they're over there. The TV series, man, I really loved it. I've gone through it a couple times now. It had a little bit of that teenage angst. There was some romance. There was really cool magic. I feel like the CGI and stuff like that was really good. And I think the storyline was really adapted well as also. I really liked how, they were learning the magic. You have the magical school thing, but there's no progression element really in it. I just thought that it was a really awesome series. The drama was done well. The acting was done well. And all in all, I really enjoyed it. It's funny too, this one was a sci-fi series. I think that at some point I'm going to have to go and just do my top 5 favorite sci-fi series of all time, the Sci-Fi Channel, that is. They used to be amazing. Like, they did Battlestar Galactica, which might be my favorite sci-fi series of all time. They did all of the Stargate stuff, which used to be every Friday night. A bunch of my college buddies and I would get together. This was over 20 years ago now, and we would drink beer and watch Stargate SG-1 every single Friday on the Sci-Fi Channel. They used to be just so amazing. I think I'm gonna have to do a review of some of those. I liked Eureka. I liked just a bunch of their stuff, and you know what? They don't do nearly as many shows like that anymore. And my number one favorite TV series that was adapted from books of all time is The Expanse.
May I ask you something? Do you miss Earth? These endless blue skies, free air everywhere, and open water all the way to the horizon. When you spend your whole life living under a dome, even the idea of an ocean is almost impossible to imagine.
Which also, first 3 seasons were on the Sci-Fi Channel, and of course the last 3 ended up on Amazon Prime. This series was just done so well. I thought that I really loved how we're in the near future. I'm a few hundred years in the future, and it's not a utopian society, right? The people on Earth, they are at odds with the people on Mars, which is the other planet that was big enough to, sustain industry and grow on its own. So, of course, Earth has the big population. Mars has the technology, which is actually a fairly familiar trope in future sci-fi stuff. And then, of course, you have the Belters, who are mutated in many cases because of the no gravity. So they're very tall and slender. They don't do well in gravity. And I really liked that opening scene where they're basically torturing one of the Belters, who is maybe or maybe not a terrorist, responsible for some bombings of Earth interests. And the torture is leaving them out of the water tank and having to deal with Earth's gravity, right? And so I thought it was just such a great job. And you know what? It's also really crazy to me. Of course, the authors use the pen name S.A. Corey. It is actually 2 people, Daniel Abraham and Ty Franck. They each write certain chapters. So I think it's Franck. He always does like the Holden and a couple of others. And so each of them, I guess they get together. I've not really done a lot of study on that. I've always known there was 2 different authors, but I didn't realize, like how they did the writing. That's always been something that seems like it would be just so difficult to me, but which I guess makes it even more amazing that I love both the books and the TV series. So The Expanse, which I've got at number 1, obviously, The Magicians at number 2, and Game of Thrones at number 3 are definitely the 3 book series that I also liked the most. As far as with the adaptations, as I mentioned, I haven't really done a ton of reading in that Sookie Stackhouse series. I just loved the True Blood TV series so much, right? The Expanse, man, it's just so good. And the later books take a big time jump, which is something that I don't always love in a book series. For some reason, it always feels like such a loss when I have some of the different characters. But you do get, many of the same characters with that time jump. My wife also wants me to note with this that it is her favorite audiobook series of all time. It is done very well. The voice actor, who of course I did not write down, is... what's that? Jefferson Days? Okay, I'm leaving that in as my wife yells down to me from the distance. It is Jefferson Days. He's on Broadway. They actually recorded 1 or 2 of them without him, and then went back and re-recorded the books with him again. So really good audiobooks, and also great written books. It's just such an awesome series. Also, I mean, like I said, I really just feel like they did the sci-fi element of it so well. I really like that it's not like thousands of years, or we don't have alien technology early on, and it's just it was just such a well-written story, and I just really loved everything about it. And it was put onto TV and adapted so well that I really liked the characters. I like Holden, I liked Amos, I liked all of them. And it's funny because at this point, because the TV series was fairly faithful and was so good, it really, like, I see those characters when I'm reading the book. Like, I see their faces and I hear their voices as I'm reading at this point. Just such an awesome series. You know what? If you have a series that you think I should have included, or if you completely disagree with something that I did include, go feel free to comment if you like this, like and subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on my top 5 and what maybe your top 5 would be. Thanks.